Hello and welcome to the Untranslatable Podcast. We are here recording episode number 58, the Mitten Edition. For those of you that don't know what we mean when we're talking about the Mitten, you will soon find out. We're very excited to talk about our home state of Michigan, where Jared and I both grew up, spent a lot of time there. And we figured we could reminisce and reflect a little bit today, get those warm and fuzzy feelings going, talking about some of our favorite things about our home state. So we're really looking forward to bringing this episode to you. So without further ado, my man from the Mitten, my buddy Jared.
Hello. I'm Jared, and I'm smitten with the mitten.
You betcha.
Chad, you must be feeling, dare I say, homesick or something? I don't have a. Are you feeling any sort of?
I was waiting for some drop. I'm just not homesick, but just in the mood to reminisce and reflect today. That's for sure.
I'm excited to hear what you have on your mind. But first, spread a little love and follow us on Twitter, Untranslatable1, the number 1. Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast. Email us, untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. And tell us about your home city or state or country and what makes it so unique and better than all the other ones. Because everyone thinks that. Not everyone. A lot of people think that. People from Florida know that their state sucks, but most people are very proud of where they come from, wherever that is. Tell us why. At untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com, or spread a little love and give us a 5-star review on iTunes, Apple, iPod podcasts, or wait, I said Stitcher in there as well. Both of those. Stitcher and Apple Podcasts. 5-star reviews. So I talked to my piano teacher at piano lessons yesterday, and I asked her about why Djupstrom composed a song based off of essentially another song. And she gave me the same answer you did, but with a worse explanation. You actually just explained it. You actually explained it way better than she did.
All right.
And she also claims to have. I mean, she was very. Well, I don't know if she's very mad, but she mentioned a couple times that she really wishes that they had a program, because she couldn't remember the names either. And I told her the names of his pieces because I'd seen them online, obviously.
Right.
But she, because I wanted to ask her what the name of the Dvorak piece was. Did I do it?
Dvorak.
Damn it. And when I said it to her, too, I messed it up yesterday. I was like, what was that Dvorak piece?
That was right.
I know, but I said it wrong. Okay. I love when I'm actually trying to explain what I do. That's the one time I say I try to explain when I said it wrong. I actually say it right that time. But she didn't remember either, because she once again said, like, I wish they had a program. And I was like, well, all right, you're useless.
I mean, not to be a negative Ned here, but what kind of establishment is this guy running if there's no programs?
There usually is. This is the first one I've been to that there hasn't been a program.
Okay. Huh.
Although I did send you the picture from the violinist, the pictures from the violinist Instagram page, so you saw the space. Did I explain it well? Did you see the curtains in the background?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
I'm still waiting for that velvet cake though.
I wanted to take pictures while I was there, but it was just me too. But it was just like it was a lot of people there. It's kind of tight quarters. I didn't even think to after. I probably could have got pictures of the space after. Whatever, I forgot. But you got a good picture, and it was very colorful in there. A lot of pictures on the wall. Cool.
Looks
space.
like a fancy place to be. That's for
Next
sure.
time I go, because I'm gonna go to another one at some point. I don't remember when it is. I think it's in March or something. But whatever. I'll make sure to get pictures that time.
Nice.
But I just wanted to give you your props, because you explained it way better than my piano teacher did. So,
all right. Well, I appreciate it. Could just be that you and I know each other fairly well, so I know what references you're going to get and stuff like that.
Right. And you can understand my babbling a little better. I tend to listen a little better when I'm with her than I do with you.
That's fair. Probably for good reason. But it is what it is. What have you been doing in terms of piano stuff?
This is a good time. I'm so happy Christmas is over, because we're like, I didn't even finish. Like, I kind of learned one Christmas song, and then I also during that time I was learning "My Country 'Tis of Thee," which is like in hymn style, which in itself is kind of a new style for me to play. And "My Country 'Tis of Thee" is just, I guess, a nice thing to learn. Like I'm not gonna say it's useful, but but it's just
it's a nice tune.
Right. Like I learned "Amazing Grace" like a year or so ago. That could be useful. That's a good one to just have, and it's easy.
See, I have a love and hate relationship with "Amazing Grace."
Why is that?
Because the last 2 or 3 family funerals I've been to, they've played that. I tell you what, man, I was at my
they played at all of them. That's a funeral song.
Of course they do. And it's a beautiful song, really beautiful. But like,
you forget how many verses it has, though.
That's also true. It's funny though. I mean, you know me fairly well, Jared. I feel like our listeners who've been listening for a while probably also can kind of gauge how our personalities are. And I'm just gonna put it all out there and say, you know, sometimes I'm a little sensitive. You know, at funerals, usually like I'll cry.
I cried at funeral too.
And dude, I was at my great aunt's funeral. Right, that's true. That's true. I was at my great aunt's funeral, and I was fine up until they played "Amazing Grace," and I don't know what happened.
Really,
it was literally like a switch flipped in me after they played "Amazing Grace." Not even after, but while the song was going, and I just lost it.
I thought you were gonna say you were playing it on guitar at the funeral, because I know you said that you've played at funerals before and you don't want to do that anymore.
No, yeah, I hate that. No, I played different pieces. I didn't play "Amazing Grace." I don't know. Just playing at funerals, like when it's a family member that you're mourning over, is really difficult to do. I think if I got hired to play at somebody's funeral, I could do it. And I
you could disconnect. You don't know the person,
right? But when it's your family,
right?
Especially when it's like a song that you used to play for them when they were living,
right?
Gives you chills a little bit, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's a situation designed to bring up emotions, even if she's still alive.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah. So, what am I playing in piano? So I'm getting back into normal non-holiday music, and you'll be excited to learn. I am playing an arrangement of Rondo a la Turk.
A la Turca?
Yeah.
Yes, that's awesome.
I'm playing a song Rondino. I don't remember who it's by, but it's like a duet with my piano teacher. I play the high part.
Nice.
And I'm getting I had Bach's Minuet in G minor, I believe it is, learned. But I learned it like months ago, and I haven't played it in months, and I kind of forgot it, so I'm relearning that. Which is, and not surprising, but it is slightly annoying, but slightly expected. How like it's almost like I'm relearning it all over again.
Yeah, that's
and it's like
the
I
worst.
knew this like 7 months ago or something like that. I had it almost essentially memorized, and now I'm like relearning fingering and stuff. It's like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's irritating. I remember like trying to play some random pieces.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
you're good. You're good. I mean, yeah, the thing about it is that we just have to kind of buckle down and not take things for granted what we learn, because I feel like for me, I had so many good classical guitar pieces under my belt. Dude, I can play like 3 classical guitar pieces right now. It's a shame. Like it's real. I could play more if I started really practicing classical guitar.
Them.
Exactly. The only couple that I can play are ones that I had memorized and I still would randomly play.
Right.
So, if you keep playing it, a couple times a month, ideally a couple times a week, I don't think you'll ever forget it. But if you take those couple of months off, you could forget it. You might as well pull out the sheet music again. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I was literally it was like I was starting from the beginning. But I at least had the expectations where I was like, I know that like, don't expect to be able to just play this, and don't get frustrated that you're going to have to relearn this. So I at least
that's a good mentality.
Prepared myself not to. I was like, I haven't played this in months. I can't expect to just go back into this like I was playing it before.
Right.
But it is still slightly irritating. It's like I had.
Oh,
this
for
down.
Sure. I mean, it just goes to show you how anything in life, if you don't do it for a while, you got to relearn it.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like people that like say got into some sort of serious accident and have to like relearn how to walk or talk or something like that. Just less drastic.
Right. Just a little bit. Just a little less drastic. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's fun though. I'm excited just because it's no longer the Christmas music, and I don't want to give too much shade on the Christmas music, but it's not as good as the everlasting stuff that you can play any time of year.
Right. That's true. And yeah, Christmas music, like you said, has such a short window of time when you can really play it. It would be funny to bust out a Christmas song in like June, and people would just be like, "What are you doing?"
I remember a couple times watching A Christmas Story in in the summer.
Oh, nice.
Like, this is a good movie. Yeah, it happens to be around Christmas, but this is a good movie. I mean, I'm gonna watch Die Hard whenever as well because it's just a good movie. I'm not gonna be thrown off that it's Christmas time.
Exactly. I have a question for you. Speaking of movies and Christmas, you've seen the movie. Oh shoot! Now, of course, I'm forgetting the name of the movie. It's the Tim Burton movie, Nightmare Before Christmas. Nightmare Before Christmas.
Once.
You've seen it once.
Yeah.
Do you think it's well, maybe you haven't seen it enough to have an opinion, but I'm going to ask you anyways. Do you think it's a Halloween movie or Christmas movie?
I think the only thing that makes it a Halloween movie is that claymation is kind of creepy.
Okay. Otherwise, you would say it's a Christmas movie.
And it's a kind of a dark movie,
Right.
Like,
I think Tim Burton.
I think the look. I mean, the look is very Tim Burton-y, but the look is what gives makes it seem Halloween-y. But it's not really a Halloween movie, is it? They're just skeletons. That's like saying is Coco a Halloween movie? Oh wait, it is.
well, kind of. Not really. Not really. I would say that's more celebrating the Day of the Dead in Mexico.
Right.
Not really
that's
Halloween.
Fair. That's fair.
Also, speaking of getting emotional, dude. First time I watched that movie, not even gonna lie to you, I cried. Did you cry too?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
I have a soul.
I know you got lots of soul. I've played music with you. I feel like you can't be a good musician if you don't got no soul.
That's very true. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Ooh, all right. So I have some good news for you, Jared. It feels really weird, but I have some good news. I have almost all of my lesson planning done for the rest of the semester. Almost.
Wow. When's the semester end?
In 2 weeks, but still.
Oh, okay. So does that mean for the next 2 weeks you can just you can just do no preparation and just show up and you're ready to go?
Yes and no. I know you probably even know what I'm going to say right here, but what I'll be doing now for the next 2 weeks is prepping my stuff for the coming semester.
Oh, okay. So
it never stops.
How do these semesters work over there?
So the first semester goes from like end of August, early September to February, and then the other ones go from February to end of June.
Okay, I guess that's kind of standard.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's just I guess sometimes I think of them as high schoolers. And it's like, I guess in high school, at least in America, we even though I guess those technically were semesters, you never really considered it a semester. Like you didn't say, I never really said second semester that much in high school. You know what I mean? It's like it's just all the same. It's all junior year, or it's all
exactly.
It's like I'm a second semester sophomore in high school. Like,
right. Not much to brag about, that's for sure. Well, the one thing though that I was a little surprised about. I don't know about your high school in Michigan, but mine in Michigan, I'm pretty sure we were done after winter break and we started the new semester after New Year's, right?
Did we change classes between semesters in high school?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, I don't even remember.
I think so. It's been a while for both of us, that's for sure.
I mean, if you did, I probably did too. I just
right. And so I was really surprised when my colleague was like, yeah, we got like 3 more weeks left after we come back from New Year's for this semester. I was kind of like, what? Wait, what? I was a little surprised by that.
Yeah.
But it's been good. Today I did a lesson with my students about robots, which was really fun. I had my students, one of the last tasks I had them do today was they had to design their own robot. And it was hilarious. What? Just their imagination. They had to basically come up with a name for it, a price. What does the robot do? Because in my some of my classes that I've been teaching, I try to help them prepare for the exit exam for their high school, for their secondary school called the Maturita, and robots is one of the topics on the exam. And so I thought, how can I make this a fun, engaging lesson? And I got to tell you, man, I usually have some type of PowerPoint set up because, I teach so many classes. It's a ton of paper if I were to prepare these lessons for all my students, right? If I gave every single one of my students a piece of paper, I would assume that'd be over 100 sheets of paper easily.
That's not a lot of people would think that that's not that much.
To me, I guess, I don't know. Maybe because I'm the one printing it and I see the huge stack of papers.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You see how long it takes for the printer to...
Right. So I usually have PowerPoints just because it's a little greener. You don't have all the paper you're using. But this time I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do a PowerPoint for this lesson. So I didn't prepare a PowerPoint. The first lesson I did, I was a little scared and worried. I was like, oh no, like this is going to be really bad. But it turned out really good and one of my best lessons, in my opinion, that I've had here. And it was really liberating not having a PowerPoint. Like I could interact with the students more. I didn't have to care about the computer. It was really nice, dude. So I think in the coming semester, I might try to do more, do more with less. So just have a handout or two and that's it.
You felt like you were more engaged with the students and less relying on the material on the board.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a liberating feeling.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah. But it is also a little like I'm the same thing like when we do the podcast. It is sort of like nerve-wracking going in with nothing prepared sometimes.
Right.
I've only probably done that once, but like it is always like, all right, let's see what happens here. And then you find out, oh yeah, if you just actually engage with the people or the person, it'll work.
Exactly. I always get worried when I have too many tabs open.
Yeah.
And right now I have a ton of tabs open, but thankfully, I've read through all of them, so they're just there if I need them. Basically, my little crutch, my podcasting crutch.
Yeah.
But
yeah. You don't need the crutch though. Just have faith in us.
That's true. Well, I have faith in you. It's faith in me that I gotta keep up. That's for sure. But yeah, so it was exciting though, and in a way though, I'm very sad that this semester is coming to an end for a few reasons. One, it means that my time here is, almost halfway over. Mm-hmm. Really, I guess it's technically over halfway over now. Well, no, it's not. It'll be when I'm 5 months here, which will be the end of this month, maybe. I'll have to do the math later. It's not important.
We'll get back to you in that. Check out episode 59.
That's right. Exactly. That's right. But yeah, so the one thing is obviously my time is, eventually going to come to an end here. And it's been a little difficult, to be honest, to grapple with it because I really love it here. I have a lot of fun with my colleagues, with my students. Everyone here has been so welcoming. And so it's a little strange to think, well, one, I don't know what's going to happen after this as well. And you can
come live with me. I have a second bedroom.
Perfect. Just become full-time podcasters. I like it.
You'll have to pay a little bit of rent, but, you can do it.
Can I pay you in jam sessions?
We'll talk. we'll talk.
But yeah, the other thing though, that although it makes me sad to think about the idea of leaving, I'm also looking forward to at least spending a couple months back in Michigan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Which will be great.
Yeah, I get that. I had something to say, but then I totally got distracted by the jam session thing. So you're getting a new batch of students next semester?
Correct. So this semester I was teaching all of the third and fourth year students. Next semester it'll all be first and second year students. So it's going to be a big change because the third and fourth year students, their English proficiency is higher just because they've had more English class, right? They've had, 2 to 3, maybe even 4 years more English than the other students have. But I've talked to my colleagues a lot about teaching the first and second year students, and because they're younger, they're way more enthusiastic and are more into playing games and stuff. And I love teaching with games.
Yeah, I'm excited for a semester.
So it's going to be a blast. Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun.
This is going to be like, you're going to be like Robin Williams from Dead Poets Society.
That's
trying
the goal.
Like, wrangle these old students. Hey!
That's right. Well, I taught one of my. Did your teachers do the silent coyote in school? Did they ever
No,
do that?
you've mentioned that to me before. I haven't seen that.
Okay. For all of our listeners out there, the silent here, I'll even take a selfie. Why not? The silent coyote is a sorry, had to make sure it was a decent picture.
We're gonna find out that that's like a white supremacist symbol at some point.
Oh God, I really hope not. That would be really bad, really bad. But the silent coyote is when you basically, at least when I was in first or second grade, really little, our teacher would hold up the silent coyote.
Kind of looks like the from
like the rock on symbol.
Yes, well, I was thinking from Dodgeball when when Ben Stiller's team is coming in. I don't remember.
Oh, the Cobras.
The Cobras, yes.
Yeah. Oh my God, that movie is something else. But yeah, anyways, I'm going to try that out with my first year students and we'll see how they respond. So give me a month and I'll let you know. Right? If you can dodge a binder, you can dodge a ball.
You call yourself a teacher? You can't even dodge a binder?
That's right. Dude, I had a teacher in high school. I'm not going to mention his name because he's probably not teaching because he was one of the oldest teachers at my school, and I had some students whose parents went to the same school as their kids, and they had him as their teacher. Damn. That's how old this guy was. But I was in one of his classes one time, and he would always play these like quirky, weird movies in his class that were like clearly from like 70s or 80s and were super outdated, but like... He just kept playing them, and a student fell asleep during the movie, and he threw one of the textbooks at the student while he was asleep, and he missed the student, but he hit the desk, and he chipped the corner of the desk. And this wasn't like a wood desk. This was like one of those, with metal and like, it's not like concrete, but it's like a hard, you know what I'm talking about? It's not plastic, but it's either way, it was a desk.
Okay.
And he chipped the corner right off the desk.
Damn.
Yeah, crazy stuff.
I went to a all-boys Catholic school for my last 2 years of high school. Very different than my first 2 years of high school spent at the International School of Dusseldorf. Notice I named my one in Germany. I don't even know if I want to name my high school. Nothing sexual happened, by the way. Anyway. And there was a good bit of physical violence that I witnessed. I witnessed 2x4s hit on people in a jokingly way that I would say a little bit farther than joking. I've seen markers thrown at multiple people's heads. One of my teachers had an umbrella, but it didn't have the actual umbrella part. It just had the stalk of the umbrella that he kept handy. And he banged it on tables.
Oh, banging on tables. Okay.
Person once as well, but he whacking on tables and stuff. There was a lot of there was a lot of threatening of physical and light physical abuse, I guess you would say.
Yep.
That makes it sound like I went to a school in the 40s, but
right.
I enjoyed it actually.
You know what's crazy? And this would have been, I guess, in the late 40s, early 50s. My dad was at I don't know if it was a private school, but it was a Christian school or probably not Catholic, because I'm pretty sure he was brought up. Anyways, he was at some Christian school, and his mom went to pick him up from school one day, and just like I am, my dad's a lefty, right? And I guess the nun forgot to untie his hand from his back, but they thought back in the day that writing with your left hand is the devil.
Yep.
And so First, my dad said this nun would slap his left hand with a ruler whenever he would try to write with his left hand. And then when he continued, she tied his hand behind his back so he could only write with his right hand. And the joke was on the nun, though, because my grandmother was also a lefty. So she pulled him right out of that school and took him to a different school.
I love how I'm glad that she's a lefty. She understands our plight.
That's
right.
It
wasn't some righty that was like, well, maybe she has a point. I mean, everyone else is writing with their right hand. Shut up.
Right. The world is not designed for left-handed people, that's for sure.
I love how You have to like clarify that his mom is a lefty. Like if she was a righty, she would have accepted this. This sort of abuse. Like that's the only thing that was preventing her from accepting like abuse of her son.
Right.
Which
Which
also
probably
a
wasn't the
lefty.
case, but right. Oh man, that's crazy.
I mean,
stuff.
a lot of people did accept it though. Not to downplay it. I mean, not obviously she didn't, but like a lot of people accepted that sort of abuse on their kids, and it's like, well, I had to spank your kid at school, and they're like, well, what did he do? It's like, well,
Right.
sounds like he deserved it.
Right.
That was also kind of a regular occurrence back then. So
Yeah, times have changed. That's for sure.
good.
That
good.
is for sure. Yeah, I would agree.
Hey, can we spread a little love? I'm tired of
Absolutely.
talking about beating children.
That's fair. Me too.
Can I go first? I'll go first.
Absolutely.
Have you heard of a woman named Centoya Denise Brown?
Oh, I have, but please spread the love.
So she Centoya was imprisoned at the age of at the age of 15 she was a sex worker that was I was gonna say she was forced into it, but obviously she was 15.
Right.
And actually I think she might have started younger than that, to be honest with you. Excuse me, 16 is when this incident occurred specifically. So a woman was serving a life sentence for killing a man. The woman is Centoya, who bought her for sex when she was 16 years old. She's been granted clemency in the state of Tennessee on Monday. Once again, Monday's kind of arbitrary when you listen to a podcast. But anyway, she's 30 now, and she was in jail for 15 years, and she'll be released. She was released on August 7th. And the decision comes after careful consideration of what is considered a tragic, complex case. So Centoya claimed that, everyone else was claiming that she was part of a horrific crime herself, and this was self-defense, but they when she was on trial, it was claimed that it wasn't self-defense because they also robbed her. She also robbed him after she had killed him. She claimed she was terrified, and then she also claimed that she was terrified of that dude, but then also terrified to go back to her pimp without any, empty-handed. So that's why she took the money. And then she just ran away because she was scared. And so she was tried as an adult at the age of 16 and got, she got a life sentence with a minimum of 51 years that had to be served before she had a chance of getting parole. Before she, or I guess eligible to parole would be the proper way to say that.
Right.
However, a lot of and this is why I also kind of hate when people shit on like celebrities for sticking to causes and believing in causes, because a lot of celebrities were talking about this, like Ashley Judd, for example, or everyone's favorite comedian Amy Schumer. That was so mean. Or Kim Kardashian, a lot of them had tweeted about this and just talked about it and saying how she's been wrongfully imprisoned and that she deserves to be released because she's not a murderer, like she's not some sort of violent criminal. She was acting out of self-defense, and so her case was reopened, and she was given clemency, and now she's relatively free citizen. I think there's still some level of parole, but she's out and allowed to live her life relatively normally. So shout out to her and everyone that stood up for her.
Absolutely. And I
and
really
now,
hope.
Oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead. Mhm. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and I just hope that she gets some sort of payment or something, or some sort of what's the word? I don't know what the right word is, but just some sort of payment for being wrongfully. It's the same thing like we talked about with the people that were imprisoned for the marijuana. Maybe they don't need to be paid, but I think someone like Centoya, who they look back now and say we did this, I think there should be some sort of retribution paid to that. I don't know.
Right.
It's like and prison destroys people. Like it destroys people psychologically, and it's like
Oh, definitely.
especially
It's not-
15 years.
Right. And our system is set up in a way that it's not designed to get you out and have you become a functioning member of society again. I mean, the rate of people that go back to prison after they've been there, and I think some people they try to use the argument, oh well, they're just criminals, and it's like, well, no, they're not giving the support they need in order to make the right decisions and try to live life in a healthy way. And I really hope that she can, somehow find a way to get on her feet and can live a normal and hopefully happy life. So yeah, it's a big shout out. And it's great news. I was actually, the only reason why I had heard about this was I was talking to my students about this the other day. So that's why I was aware of it. So I have two shout outs.
Keyed into Black Twitter, so.
Right.
Official Black Twitter correspondent on the Untranslatable podcast.
That's right. Well, Jared, a lot of people, especially, a lot of my students, because they're gamers, a lot of them hate on Fortnite, right? I've never actually played it before, to be honest. I'm sure you probably haven't either. Is that a safe assumption?
No, I know that they stole dances.
Yeah. But one thing that's awesome is the creator of Fortnite, Tim Sweeney, has actually bought thousands of acres of forest to stop it from being cut down.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he started actually in 2008, and he has purchased nearly 40,000 acres over the last decade.
Damn.
Which makes him one of the largest private landowners in North Carolina.
I wonder what his landscaping bill looks like.
Right. And he's also donated money to quite a few different conservation projects, including one of them in Mount Mitchell State Park.
That's awesome.
So big shout out to you, Mr. Sweeney. I think that's awesome that he has been doing this. Because if we're not careful, we're going to cut down all of our trees, and we're not going to live in a clean world anymore, the rate we're going.
Have you heard about what's been going on during the government shutdown? That the state parks and national forest are being the employees are not being paid, so they're not working, obviously.
Right.
It's just turning into like a kind of a free for all. A lot of the facilities aren't working. There's literally people are kind of just camping out there because no one's really
right.
And it's not good.
No, definitely not.
But good thing there's people also, like Tim Sweeney.
Tim Sweeney, that's right.
Yeah.
And the other, this is kind of a side shout out, I guess, that I hadn't thought of, but shout out to all the federal workers out there right now who are struggling with this government shutdown, and some of them are still going to work even though they're not getting paid. Have you seen pictures of people at airports? TSA, they're all federal employees.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So theoretically, they don't have to be there, and people could just walk on through.
Well, theoretically, yes.
Or would they have to shut down the airport?
Well, they'd probably have to shut down the airport, but basically they have, I don't know who, well, I assume if they're federal employees, it's the federal government who's their boss, but they've been told that if they don't show up to work, they'll be fired. So they're basically volunteering there. Exactly. So yeah, I don't get it. So it's really crazy. And a lot of these people though are stuck in a bind. They can't afford to lose their jobs, but they're going right now and they're not getting paid. And the
are
other
they going to get back paid? Is that one paycheck is it going to cover all those weeks?
They better. If they don't, that is so wrong on so many levels.
Right. That's essentially slavery at that point.
Oh yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
You're holding them hostage. You're like, yeah.
Right. So I hope either the government will resume fairly soon so these people can get paid, or that they will get back pay or something, because some people have been going over 2 weeks with no paychecks. And for people who are living paycheck to paycheck, that's really difficult.
Which is
some people can't pay rent.
Majority of the population, by the way.
Right. Oh yeah, for sure. This is the first time in my life that I am not living paycheck to paycheck. I'm not rich by any means, but it feels weird not like waiting for my paycheck to come in anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And sadly, if I move back to America, that might be the case for a while.
But I think regardless of your pay grade, the statistics of the amount of people that don't even have like say $1,000 or $500, like just to like at any moment, like say like if you were to tell someone to pull out $500 right now, the number of people that couldn't do that is staggering, and that includes people that you believe to be rich.
Right. Yeah.
That's not just a poor person thing.
I believe it. Anyways, though, I still have one more shout out, and I want to give, although this is the Michigan episode, you got to give credit where credit is due. And I want to give a shout out to not only New York City, maybe you've heard about this, but also Mayor Bill de Blasio, because New York City plans to install the first comprehensive healthcare system in the nation. So New York will be providing healthcare to all city residents, which I think is amazing.
That's awesome. Wow.
So this is a big cultural shift because de Blasio said, we recognize that healthcare is not just in theory a right, it's in practice a right, which I think we need to have a lot more people come around to this idea. So many people in the United States think that healthcare is a privilege, whereas most other developed countries in the world, healthcare is a right and there's no debate about it anymore.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard for me to argue that it's a that it's a privilege because you're essentially saying that that's essentially saying that you're willing to let people die when you know you can help them.
Exactly.
And what kind of world is that you would live in where it's like, yeah, I know that we have the ability to do it, but he doesn't have enough money, so let's just watch someone die. I mean, you're not physically watching this person, but you're essentially watching by just watching the numbers of people going uncared for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah, that's some heartless stuff. You just like that person also probably wouldn't imagine watching a helpless, poor little puppy that just got hit by a bus just die in the street.
Right, for sure. Yeah, so big ups to New York, and hopefully
better have insurance.
Right. And so I hope other states will also follow suit, or cities. We'll find out and we'll see. But big ups to the mayor of New York and New York City. And one way we can really give a shout out is give someone a good cheers. So I think it's time to review our beer of the pod today. And Jared, I found something kind of interesting today.
Whoa.
This is called
that's cool.
Steam Brew. Oops, sorry. Steam Brew, I believe
Who's
it is.
that black person down there?
Is there a black person? What?
Oh, is that not a black person? The lighting's bad. It looked like there's a black person. Oh, sorry. It looked like that was a black person's face under that woman. But
no. I don't think so.
Bad lighting. I see it now.
But yeah, so this
it's a cool looking can.
Yeah, that's what caught my eye was the really cool looking can.
You're like 16 feet away from the microphone, and there's a beer in front of you.
Yeah, it's a really cool looking can, and I think the Steam Brew when I look at the can, to me it has almost kind of like a steampunk-esque looking.
Yeah, it looks like a steampunk Monster Energy era drink.
For sure. Yeah, doesn't it? The can's got this nice kind of amber color to it, and it's got this woman in the middle, and it's called German Red. So it's supposed to be the same style as like a German ale.
I'd call that Industrial Revolution brown.
Okay, that's fair. You probably can't read this on the side, Jared.
Let's oil. Yeah.
You can read it. All right. Yeah, it says "Let's oil the gears of life." So
Let's
I do kind of like
the gears
that.
of life.
I do like that. So we're gonna do the 3 taps and crack this bad boy open and see how it tastes. So first off, I'm gonna pour this guy in here. What?
I made the acronym for "Let's oil the gears of life."
Oh, there we go.
Lot goal. No, I thought I wrote an I. Lot goal.
So one of the reasons why I picked this beer today, Jared, was because I went to a different grocery store today because I needed to get a couple different things. And this other grocery store is generally has a little bit better selection of things. However, I would say in the beer department, they don't have a better selection. And most of the beers there were Czech beers that I've either had quite a bit or I've even reviewed on our pod before, so I didn't want to double review a beer. So, Jared, here's the color of it. I'm surprised. It's actually really dark. This is darker than the Kozel half dark, half light.
Yeah, it is, for sure. I wonder if it's going to be sweet.
It smells, I mean, this won't really help, but it smells like an ale. I mean, it smells like...
Could you smell if a beer would be a sweeter beer or not? Like a dark beer?
Yeah. This one, I don't think it's going to be sweet. It definitely has a slight smell of hops and malt a little bit. Almost kind of, I haven't even tasted it yet. I've just been doing the sniff test. And it definitely does have some, like a slight, maybe even caramel undertone, maybe. All right, now let's taste this bad boy and let's see.
I give you props for finding something something different, because I am spoiled with variety here.
All right, so first of all, I like it. It's definitely good.
Okay.
So the German Red Steam Brew is pretty tasty. Let me just give you and the listeners some info about it. So it is, I believe, 7% by volume, 7.9% by volume. So
that's
almost
a little strong
8%.
for a European, one of those, like a beer from the Czech Republic, I feel like.
Right. It is. It is most definitely. Sorry, I keep talking away from the microphone.
Yeah, I've given up. I just let it happen now.
Right. I wish. This is actually legit made in Germany. It's made in Mannheim.
Nice. Okay.
Made in Mannheim, Germany.
Is there any Czech on the can?
Oh yeah, of course. There's Russian, there's Lithuanian, there's Slovakian, there's Czech, and there's Hungarian on here.
Do you run into a lot of Lithuanians on in your?
I see it on a lot of labels, but no, I haven't run into any. Not that I know of.
I don't know much about Lithuania. You should go. Can we do an on the road again in Lithuania?
It'd be interesting.
Isn't that where the Polyglot Con was? I think it was.
No, that was in Slovenia.
Oh.
Slovenia.
Sorry.
But yeah. But anyways, back to the beer. So this one is definitely darker. I would even say, Jared, if I didn't know this was a beer, I might even think this is a root beer.
Yeah, I can see why you say that.
It's got a brown tint to it. And, for a darker colored beer, though, I will say that it does have more of the tradition here in the Czech Republic, where there's no bitterness to it, I would say. There's a little tiny bit of sweet, but it's not like the dark Czech beers here.
Right.
And for our listeners out there who are wondering, if you ever travel to the Czech Republic, most of those beers, they call them černý, which is Czech for black. So that's what they call the dark beers here. But anyways, it's a good beer. It has a really smooth finish. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't think that this is almost 8%. I think this one could sneak up on you a little bit. You might have a couple of these German Reds, and next thing you know, you're slurring your words a little bit. But has a good taste. I would say, yeah, definitely undertones of like maybe caramel, definitely a little bit of hops, more malt to it, I would say. But yeah, and this is definitely a beer I would want to have either with dinner or in the winter, probably.
Okay. It's a hearty beer.
Well, it's not hearty like a stout.
Right.
And doesn't seem filling like a stout, but it's definitely not light like any type of wheat beer and some lighter pilsners, or even some really, really light lagers as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm a fan of it. I guess I should probably take a couple more pictures before I drink all this. Would probably be smart. But Jared, do you while I'm taking these pictures, do you happen to have a watch by you and could tell me the time?
Oh, I think it's we all know that's the unmistakable cuckoo of the untranslatable owl. Our untranslatables are the phrases, idioms, sayings, proverbs, expressions that tickle our fancy or catch our attention from around the world. Chad, because he's in the Czech Republic, tends to bring a lot of Czech ones. I like to go all over the place, whatever country comes to my head at the time.
Right.
I like, oh, what's the language that they most speak in Cambodia? Do you know what it is?
Cambodia.
Yeah.
I mean, my guess would be Cambodian, but I'm sure that's wrong.
It's called like Khmer.
Okay.
Khmer. However, today we're talking about one of our favorite states, Michigan. So I have a lot of Michigan-based things specifically, and so maybe I'll quiz you. Maybe we'll just talk about some of them, or I'll just
excited.
inform the people. What do you have Czech ones?
I actually have one Dutch one and one Czech one for you.
All right,
Yeah.
well, we can sprinkle in. We gotta keep our polyglot.
Well, there's a reason why I picked Dutch, because there is Holland, Michigan, which has a very big Dutch population, and it's also a very beautiful place to visit. So check out Holland, Michigan, if you're ever there. It's on the west side of the state, and it's not too far from Lake Michigan, right?
No, not at all. I think it's on Lake Michigan, isn't it?
I think so. So, with that being said, let me give you my Dutch untranslatable today, Jared. Met de mond vol tanden staan, which means to sit with your mouth full of teeth.
Sit with your mouth full of tea.
Full of teeth.
Teeth. To want to tell, like, to have a lot of skeletons in your closet.
Nope.
Oh, man.
Nope. That's a good guess, but no.
Okay. To be a compulsive liar.
Nope. So let me give you an example. So maybe I have some crazy news. I don't know, maybe I just got the director position of some English language school in Japan or South Korea or something. Mm-hmm. And this news is really exciting to you. And you're just kind of sitting there, and I'm like, why are you sitting with your mouth full of teeth?
Okay. So someone's like tense or like bursting at the seams, and you can like tell that they're like
Nope, maybe I misled you with my example.
No, but I feel like you didn't. I feel like someone's
it means
excited
to be
and they're
speechless.
To
be speechless.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you did mislead me.
I did.
I tried. I thought we were simpatico for a second. I was like, no, we
not
got
that
this.
time. No.
We got this.
No, I soiled it. My bad, Jared.
Soiled it. Do you know what a troll is?
Oh, yeah.
If you're from Michigan, what a troll is. So first, I'll explain what a troll is. A troll is someone on the internet. No, I'm kidding. A troll. I mean, at this point, it's people
That's
are probably
true. You're not wrong.
are more familiar with troll as that rather than the little things that live under a bridge. But a troll is historically a creature, humanoid creature that lives under a bridge. You got to pay the troll toll to get into this boy's hole. Do you know what that's from?
No, where's that from?
Oh, okay.
Sounds like South Park.
Always Sunny. He's actually saying you got to pay the troll toll to get into this boy's soul, but he slurs it, and so you got to pay the troll toll to get into this boy's soul.
Okay, I should have known that because I've been watching a lot of Always Sunny. That show is ridiculous.
Have you seen the Nightman Cometh episode?
Oh, of course.
It's from that one.
Classic. Okay, I'll have to go rewatch it. But yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, explain troll though.
So a troll is what? A troll is what the people in the UP, which is the Upper Peninsula, call people that live in the main part of Michigan. The main part.
The Lower Peninsula. Your bias is showing.
The main part.
The main part. You said it, not me.
The people that live in the UP, this is what they call the people that live in the important part of Michigan. The part of Michigan where it doesn't snow 11 months out of the year. That live in the Lower Peninsula, which is the hand part of Michigan. So we're called trolls because we live under the bridge, which is the famous Mackinac Bridge, which I believe is one of the longest suspension bridges.
Yes, sir.
I remember I was at an airport one time, probably hungover, because I was really annoyed by this question. And the guy that checks your ID and boarding pass asked, I was in Colorado, I believe. I was in Denver. And the guy asked, like he was, joking that he was like quizzing people about their home state. And he's like, "What's the longest bridge in this? Your state has the longest bridge in the world. What is it?" And I just guessed that it was the Mackinac Bridge. He's like, "Yes." He's like, "How long is it?" And I was like, "Ugh."
I can tell you.
I think I know. Can I take a guess first?
Sure.
5.2 miles.
Yes, sir. Right on the money. Right on the money.
I might have been hungover, but I remember what he said.
It's because you're a good listener, Jared. So what do the trolls call the people that live in the Upper Peninsula?
We call them Yoopers, which is a slur of UP people.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
your UP, you UPers, Yoopers.
Right. Yep.
We also, as I mentioned before, I'll just throw this out here. We call Michigan the mitten because it looks like a mitten, or it looks like you're a hand, but with the mitten on it, the way the kind of thumb is. It actually looks very similar to that.
We call it the thumb in Michigan. People who live up there. Mm-hmm.
And everyone knows that it's almost a cliche at this point that we explain where we're from to other Michiganders by pointing to spots on your hand.
Yep.
Now I looked at them I found a picture of Michigan with all the main cities on someone's hand, and you can do the same thing with the Upper Peninsula, by the way. It's not going to be a mitten, but if you put your hand, what do you call this?
Parallel
to the ground.
Yeah, parallel to the ground.
If you put your left hand parallel to the ground, then you can also kind of replicate the Upper Peninsula roughly.
Yeah.
I've just realized that I've been telling people my entire life that I grew up in the wrong spot.
Really? Where did you tell them?
I didn't realize Detroit would be considered that. I mean, because I'm not from Detroit.
Here, man.
No, see, you're wrong too.
What? No way. Detroit's
what I'm looking at.
Okay.
I'm going to take a picture of this hand and send it to you.
All right. I'll take a look.
Well, this is going to be tough to do.
Worth it.
Oh,
I'm curious.
It's not. I got it. So here's Michigan. Detroit, which is I'm from the suburbs of Detroit, but it's if you're pointing to your hand,
Detroit, as people sometimes call it.
But that's what anyone on inside would know that. But according to the hand that I'm looking at, Detroit is at the very is like at the right around, say, your knuckle on your thumb, at the very corner.
Really?
So I'm sending you this picture. Sorry. Do you want it on Facebook or text it to you? Which one do you prefer?
Facebook.
Okay.
Huh. That's
and so I've been telling people, according to that I live in not Lansing, but maybe more like Ann Arbor is what I've been telling people.
Okay. Oh, it's further. Yeah. Dude, I pointed here. I was just okay. So
your
I was
microphone
pointing.
is on the way.
I was just pointing. Oh, sorry. I was pointing at Ann Arbor, not Detroit.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I'm sorry. Chad got his home right.
I guess so. Interesting.
But,
I always point right dead center in my hand for Lansing, and it's way further. It's further right than that. Interesting.
It's pretty kind of north. I think Lansing's more north than I would think too.
Yeah.
According to this hand that I'm looking at.
Right.
Anyway, give me your Czech one.
All right. This one's a cool one because it rhymes. So here we go. Světská stáva. Ah, shoot. Hold up. Let me make sure that's an L and not a T. Světská sláva polní tráva, which means, yeah, sounds nice, doesn't it? Which means worldly fame is just like, well, hey, if a Czech person was saying it, I promise you it would sound nice.
That's fair.
So this means worldly fame is just like a grass in the field. What do you think, Jared?
It doesn't matter how famous you are, you're still just like a speck in the universe.
I'd give you a half ham horn on that one.
Because I still can't do that. I have a different ham horn, but I still can't do that.
Here it says that fame is unimportant, but it will fade away, and one should not pay too much attention to it. To fame, that is.
Okay.
So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, that's very true. But that's easy for a non-famous person to say. I mean, I don't
Also
know who
true.
said that.
Right.
But
Anyways, let's talk about some more Michigan things.
sure. By the way, party store. That's a Michigan term.
Oh yeah, and that will throw a lot of people off. That's for sure. I obviously know what it means being from Michigan, and that was the term we always used.
Yeah.
Always.
Oh, did you really?
Oh yeah, because we had a little. You remember going to my parents' house and there was that little blue
that corner
party
place,
store,
yeah.
right? And we literally called that the party store. Like, hey, let's meet at the party store. Everyone knew in Dexter where that was.
I didn't hear party store until I came back to Michigan. Maybe I was just too young because I left Michigan when I was 12, so it's just like I didn't hear much liquor store talk before that.
Right.
But like
For good reason.
But yeah, I guess I gave it away. A party store is a liquor store. And the thing about the party store is it really has nothing you're not really going to find party favors there at all. Like you're not going to find streamers. You're not really going to find, maybe you might find some ones that have been there since like the 90s in the back corner.
Right.
But like, no one ever thinks party store and thinks, let me get some decorations for a party, or it's just all booze. And it's interesting that party stores are such a thing too, because in Michigan, you can buy alcohol anywhere. Like,
Right.
so it's like, why is there such a need for specific liquor stores when you can get it from anywhere? Because I've seen here in Philadelphia or Philadelphia, I'll say, where you can't buy alcohol anywhere. Beer, it's getting like I saw my grocery store just started selling beer about a year ago, and there was like a beer specific place right across the street that within a couple months closed down completely. And I assume it has something to do with the fact that my grocery store started selling beer. So people are like,
Interesting.
I'll just go to the place that I'm going to already anyway, rather than going to a different place.
Right.
And
party store is a big one. That's for sure.
Party stores seem to be thriving. I had plenty of friends in high school that were that parents were owners of party stores. And they always had the nicest cars.
Nice. Party stores are thriving in Michigan. That's for sure.
Yeah. I had a friend in high school that drove a Range Rover.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And his parents owned a party store.
So I got a question for you, Jared.
Not to brag about some kid I know.
I don't know if you know this word, and I've only heard it a few times, but do you know what a fudgy is?
Sounds gross. No, I don't know what
it does. It does sound gross.
Well, I know Michigan is famous for their fudge. Whenever I used to go to the Detroit Auto Show, which historically it's kind of losing favor, but it still is one of the top auto shows in the world. That's the one time of the year I would eat fudge because they'd always sell fudge at the auto show, and it was like Mackinac fudge. Does it have anything to do with that?
Yeah. So well, first of all, Mackinac is the place where you need to go to get the best fudge. At least that would be my insider tip.
Yeah.
Or the touristy thing.
Fudge is such a decadent thing to eat.
It is. Like,
it needs to be put on top of something or something. But like, maybe this just shows my aging. But something about eating just pure sugar and chocolate like that, or is just like,
you gotta cut it into little slices, and you're good.
Yeah, it just seems so abusive to my
right.
Like my parents brought me or sent me pecan candy, like pralines, which is a Louisiana thing. Which is, Louisiana's form of pure sugar.
Right. Every state has it. That's for sure.
Yeah, every state has their iteration of pure sugar, and it just seemed. And I ate one kind of this morning because I can't have it as a dessert because I'm usually drinking tea at night, and I put honey in tea, and just honey with that seems like too much sugar already.
Okay.
So I drink it. I usually eat one every couple of days in the morning when I drink coffee in the morning at home, because it goes great with coffee. Because coffee is bitter enough to offset the sweetness.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
But it's just like, it still seems so abusive. Like I ate it 4 hours ago, and I feel like I can still feel it in my mouth.
Right. Well, yeah. So a fudgy though is a tourist visiting. You're good. It's a tourist visiting Mackinac Island.
Just coming for the fudge.
Exactly.
Oh my god.
I have another
hilarious.
term. and I'm going to ask you what your opinion is on this. Because I didn't start hearing this term until we were in college at Albion. And the term is...
Same. I know what you're going to say. But yeah,
townies.
same. I didn't hear that either. But I think it also kind of depends on you kind of seem like you could grow up in a city that would have townies. I guess I could too. I grew up in Clarkston. But a townie is like a derogatory term. At least, well, the way it was used when we went to school. I don't know what your explanation is, and I wonder if it says what this is, because the way it was used in our school was kind of the derogatory term that the outsiders had, because essentially, 99% of the people that went to Albion College did not grow up in Albion. We knew a couple people, like our buddy Craig or Paul or something like that, but
it's few and far between.
Vast majority of them didn't, grew up, in suburbs like me or, West Coast or whatever. So, whatever. But it seemed like it was a derogatory term that was used for the local people in that town. So, like, the outsiders that felt like they were almost better than, like, the local people is how it seemed to be used a lot.
And I would say not only the local people, but I think it's important to specify the locals who weren't studying at Albion, because we didn't call the students who lived in Albion that eventually studied at Albion townies. It was all the people who weren't studying.
I think that kind of goes to show the sort of the offensive nature of it. Whereas, like, you wouldn't just call your friend a townie to his face, would you? Like, I
don't think so. No,
it would come off probably offensive.
Yeah, I always found the term a little rude, to be honest with you. Like, especially the way people used it, and I don't know if it's not really my place to say, but the majority of the population of Albion is black, and I feel like it's a lot of white kids throwing around the term townie.
Right.
And to me, it also had some racial undertones to it.
Yeah. Well,
or am I just being a sensitive snowflake, Jared?
I mean, I have. That makes sense. I'll put it that way. That makes perfect sense. It's like when you watch Fox News and they call black people like thugs. Mm-hmm. There was a famous clip from a couple of years ago where there was this one black guy on Fox News, and they were talking to him about some crime that happened to involve a black person, and they're like, well, what about these thugs these thugs are doing this? And the black guy was like, thugs? And he's like, you know what? Just call them niggers. He's like, just call them niggers.
Oh, jeez. God damn.
He's like, I know what you mean when you keep calling them thugs. He's like, just call them the N-word.
Right.
He's like, who are you fooling here? And so that's what I thought of when. So I can understand how a word like townie could be that sort of like their form of just like these people that are quote unquote below us or whatever. So yeah, right. I get that.
Yeah, I never liked that term.
That was new to me as well. I had not heard that before either.
But apparently that's a Michigan thing, I guess.
Really? So they don't have townies outside of Michigan?
I don't know if they use the same words.
Okay. I'm going to take before you give me some more terms, because I do want more. Do you remember the Pure Michigan commercials?
Of course.
They're the greatest. First of all, they're who the background voice guy is.
It's Tim Allen, isn't it?
Yeah, a local celebrity.
Right.
I found a Pure Michigan remake, a bunch of them, done by a guy named John Kerfoot. I want to play one of them because these are hilarious.
Let's do it.
And this one is about the winter in Michigan's. See, I tried to avoid the did everything in my power to try to avoid what do you call it? Advertisements.
Uh-huh.
But I loaded it a while ago and then let it sit, and now it's like confused because it's like, wait, we need to give you an advertisement. I'll play, but it's going to be an advertisement now.
Every
no, it's not.
winter in Michigan feels like the first. That first. Every winter in Michigan feels like the first. That first ride down the hill. That first perfectly built snowman. That first snowball fight. And Michiganders can't help but have that first time feeling with winter, because one day it's clear and sunny, and the next is a goddamn blizzard. Their first touch of snow is so cold and blistering that it can kill a senior citizen in under 2 minutes. Their first sight of a salt truck occurs 3 weeks after the roads have already turned to ice. And in Michigan, they all drive like it's their first winter, handling the roads at a top speed of 4 miles per hour. That is, except for the crazy bastards in their trucks and SUVs. But the real reason for driving slow is not for safety, but to stop and stare at the asshole's house that has more Christmas lights on it than Clark Griswold's. Winter virgins. Idiots. Pure Michigan.
I watched like 6 of those
We'll have
earlier
to post.
today.
We'll have to post some of those on our Facebook and Twitter because
Yeah.
those are good. We'll have to post those when the episode drops.
They're
because
so funny.
I love those. And what's funny too is like this is making me a little nostalgic. I went to Cleveland, Ohio before I came abroad to go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with my dad. And you know, there's no prettier sight than when you're coming across the Michigan border and you see the Pure Michigan signs.
Yes. So that was John Kerfoot, by the way, Kerfoot.
Okay, nice.
I'll post some to our Twitter, and Chad might post some to our Facebook. But yeah, check them out. They're hilarious. There's another one. I mean, there's a bunch, but another one I cracked up about was one he had about the roads.
Oh man,
because
the roads are awful in Michigan.
But those Pure Michigan commercials are traditionally the real ones. Are Tim Allen? That's for example, he'll do one like about Sault Ste. Marie, and it'll sound like that soothing Sault Ste. Marie.
Right. Oh, for
Looking
sure.
out onto the beautiful blue Lake Michigan.
Right.
Sitting down for dinner at Grandma's house.
They need to
Everyone
have you
joins
be the
around.
voiceover guy. That sounds really good.
Yeah, especially
That
now
sounds really good.
in this climate. Tim Allen's a little problematic, you know.
Right.
It might be nice to have
Right.
a nice
new
diverse
face.
Michigander in
That's
there.
right.
Yeah. Hit me up, Pure Michigan.
That's right. So, Jared, I want to ask you to pronounce a couple words because I'm curious
Okay.
to see if you say them the Michigan way or not. So, Jared, what do you call that
betcha.
thing that is usually red or orange, or if it's really hot, it's blue?
Fire.
Say it one more time for me.
Fire.
Okay. I think you say it normally. I say fire.
Like you put a lot of emphasis on that IR.
Apparently, I say it like it's FYER, fire.
Fire. Oh, fire.
Uh-huh. Not fire, but fire.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I've
Because-
heard that before.
Because when I was in Vienna, there was a girl that would always make fun of me for the way I would say fire. She'd always say it's fire, or I can't even say it right, but she'd be like, it's fire.
Did you make fun of her for the way she said victory?
I didn't.
Victory.
She was American, so her victory was fine. But yeah. Okay, Jared, what do you call the thing you look at in the morning when you're, I don't know, combing your hair, brushing your teeth? It's in your bathroom usually.
A mirror.
Okay, so you don't say it the Michigan way.
I see. I've been so like I'm not a good. I'm a citizen of the world, Chad. No place can claim me because yes, I grew up in Michigan, but I lived in Michigan for the longest period of my life. But it was from let's say 2 or 3 to 12, and then I was gone for 4 years, and then another 2 years in high school, and then I was in college. This is all in Michigan, but like I didn't have like a traditional childhood in Michigan. Let's put it that
Right,
way. So it's hard
right.
to say I grew up there, even though that is where I technically spent the most amount of time with. Not that long.
Right. Well, what do you think is the Michigan way to say mirror?
Mirror.
Mirror.
I don't know.
Mirror. Mirror.
Oh,
I was
yes.
looking
Yeah,
in
I
the
don't even
mirror
know.
yesterday.
This is worse than the Wienerish episode.
And I have to be careful though because sometimes my Michigander accent will slip out when I'm teaching. And so yesterday we were going over Man, I could have used you in my lesson. We were going over cars and car parts. You would have been perfect.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to Skype you in tomorrow for our lessons.
That's declassified style, baby.
That's right.
I would happily do that. People would be falling asleep. Like, hey, beat that.
right.
Or what's everyone's
Honza,
name? Is Jan?
Honza.
Or like 16
Yeah,
Jans or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Yannick.
Exactly. But yeah, so we were talking about car parts, and one of the vocab words was rear view mirror.
That must be a tongue twister for a
rear view mirror
for a non-English speaker,
right? But I kept saying rear view mirror, and then I caught myself, and I was like, "All right, guys, just a heads up. This is how you should say it, mirror. This is how I'm going to say it, mirror."
But it's probably easier for them to say mirror than mirror.
Right. Exactly.
But I guess you're not supposed to teach them the wrong thing.
Right. All right, Jared. What do you call that dairy drink from cows?
Yeah. I call it milk. But
I say milk as well.
Michiganders say milk, right?
Exactly.
With an E?
Milk.
I know people that say milk. You know what they also do?
What?
How do you say huevos in English?
Eggs?
A lot of Michiganders, and this is just what I've noticed personally, say eggs.
Oh, yeah, eggs.
Like not
right.
eggs, but
I bought some eggs.
Like
yeah. I bought some eggs. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
And also similar to the milk is bagel. They say bagel or like bagel.
I've heard that before too.
And pillow, they often say pillow as well.
Yep. Could you pick up the eggs and some milk?
You betcha.
Right. I'm trying to think. What are some other Michigan things we say?
Are you just pulling these off the top of your head?
A lot of them, yeah. A lot of them I am.
Wow.
Jared, what do you call the DMV in Michigan?
Secretary of State is what we call the DMV.
Say it one more time.
Secretary of State.
Oh, see, you said it the Michigan way first.
I did. then I like enunciated the second time.
Yeah.
I didn't do it because I don't think I did it because I noticed that I was saying it away. I think it's just naturally saying it the second time I enunciate.
For sure. But yeah, we call it like Secretary of State. Not Secretary of State, but Secretary. It's like Secretaria is a word. Secretary of State.
Secretary of State. For the longest time, too, I thought DMVs were something that only existed in like television shows.
Right?
I was like, everyone just calls it the Secretary of State. Like, there's no DMVs don't exist. Then later, I found out each state calls it something different, or like there's a lot of different names for it. But I just always assumed that DMV was just like the TV, like always in TV shows they say 555. That's what the DMV was.
Right. Oh, man. So another common thing in Michigan, I would say, and probably the Midwest as well, is we'll pronounce words with T's a little differently. So, Jared, what's the opposite of big?
Little.
Say that again?
Little.
See, and that's how we say it. Little.
Okay, I'm trying to
now... We don't say little, we say little.
I'm trying to say it the same way the second time.
Right. Or what do you call like Detroit, Philadelphia, Los Angeles? These are all what?
Cities.
City. We don't say city, but city.
Okay. So the subtleties I don't notice.
Right.
In my own, because I grew up in it.
Right. And like I've only started to be more retrospective of it after I became an English teacher, especially in English as a foreign language teacher.
Do you get a lot of people that, I mean, you spend probably more, I mean, not probably, obviously more time around non-Americans than I do. Do you get a lot of people that call you out for like, oh, you sound so Midwesterner? I guess it'd probably be good to ask me too, because I live in the East Coast, but where they have a very different accent.
I mean, here, I don't think they would know, right? I don't think my students would be able to tell you what an East Coast accent is, West Coast, Midwest.
Oh, they just hear American.
Exactly. Now, in the States, when I have met other English teachers, like I went to a conference in Chicago last February. That might be another Michigan thing, saying February. Maybe not. I don't know. Anyways, I talked to a lot of people, and a couple of people immediately kind of looked at me. They were like, "You're from the Midwest, aren't you?" I was like, "Yep. Yes, I am."
Yeah.
Maybe it was the ope that gave it away.
I feel like the longer I'm out of it, I can notice it more and more. Mm-hmm. Because I'm surrounded by this East Coast accent, which is very different.
Right.
Do you know what Michigan means or where it comes from?
Doesn't it mean land of the lakes or land of great lakes?
It means large lake or large water.
Okay.
Speaking of, that's another one, water. How do you, that's the big difference where everyone will always notice for me is that word.
Water.
Because, yeah, we really emphasize that water.
Yeah.
In Philadelphia, they say water.
Really?
Yeah.
Water.
Water.
Yeah, water.
And so, I have to stop myself from calling, because now it's normal now. But for like the first year, I'd be like, water.
Well, I noticed how nasally my A's are after I came here, because most of my colleagues learned British English, right?
Yeah.
And they teach British English. And it sounds so much more elegant than Midwestern English, right? And so
that was actually. Go ahead. Sorry.
And so I started to, instead of saying class, class, I would say, all right, class. Like I'd soften it.
Gross.
Feels weird, but like when I was doing it, like
Okay,
it just
class.
seemed right. It just seemed more normal. And also, I don't know if you
Do you
picked it
speak
up.
with a British accent in your classes?
I do all the time. No, not really. But another word
Hello.
that I've been softening as well, and you do this one, and this isn't a Michigan thing. Well, the Michigan way to say it is aunt.
Oh yeah.
And I've started to say aunt. Feels weird.
Okay.
But I'm starting to get used to it a little bit.
Aunt is very normal to me. Aunt feels weird.
Right.
Yeah. So, but I can tell you like the etymology of it. Michigan is the French form of the Ojibwa word.
You mean Ojibwe?
Ojibwe.
Parada.
Word Michigama, meaning large water. There you go.
Nice.
Yeah, and there are lakes everywhere. I've mentioned this plenty of times, but that's a staple of well, I'll get to it later, but that's a staple of Michigan is the lakes, and it's not even a joke. I literally had multiple. I mean, I grew up. The main place I lived was in Clarkston. I lived there for 7 years. We had a lake. I had a lake in my backyard. I had multiple friends that had lakes everywhere. You know, you're always in someone's lake or on someone's boat. Mm-hmm. And I learned how to ice skate in my friend's backyard on his lake in winter.
Yep, me too.
And apparently I still got it because I killed it a couple of weeks ago out there.
Nice.
Not to brag.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was. I remember I went jet skiing for the first time in college with our buddy Guardo, as
Nice.
I call him. Everyone else calls him Eric. And I had never been on a jet ski before. First of all, it's the most fun I ever had in my life. Second of all, I think Guardo
jet
was trying to
skis are
kill
a
me.
blast.
And first of all, I didn't also understand before I used a jet ski that the way to turn is you also have to be moving. Like you can't turn and not have the accelerator
you have to
going.
move. Exactly.
And so as soon as you let off the accelerator, it just like stops kind of abruptly. Mm-hmm. And so Guardo whipped me like multiple times to the point where like there was one time I fell off the jet ski and I was in the air so long I was like, this is not good. I had time to think like, I am high up right now. Like I have not hit the ground yet.
Right.
And then I hit the water and then later that day we played Ultimate Frisbee for like 2 hours. And then I woke up the next morning and I almost couldn't drive home because my tailbone was so sore.
I believe it.
So first of all, my entire body was sore, but my tailbone especially because I landed on it in this jet ski. But we were on his lake and he was using his neighbor's jet ski. I think that's a key component of Michigan. It's not just like, yeah, the water's there, but like the community that forms around the fact that the water's there.
Absolutely.
Because I've also mentioned how I've ended up on people's boats where it's like my neighbor, my like I'm going to my friend's house and he's like, oh, we're going over to my neighbor's house who I don't know, and we're gonna like hang out on their boats. Has that happened to you by any chance? Although you didn't live in a lakey area, but you live in kind of a weird area.
May I correct you? Good sir, my grandmother used to own a cottage on Silver Lake in Pinckney, which was a 10-minute drive from my parents' house.
Oh, Pinckney, right. I remember that area, yeah.
Yep. So I spent my childhood going fishing. There was bluegills there. I would go.
Everyone has a lake.
Right. And my uncle and I would always go, we would call it turtle hunting, but we would catch the turtle and then release it, right? And, we would just scoop it up.
Like snapping turtles or something like that?
They had a lot of beautiful painted turtles at this lake.
Oh, right.
They were really nice. And that's also where I learned how to ice skate, learned how to swim in that lake. Although I'm not a fast swimmer,
Gross.
I definitely feel like I can stay afloat if I need to, which is always good.
People are very conflicted about the lake swimming.
Really?
I've done it plenty of times, but people find it to be disgusting.
Well, they're disgusting. That's all I gotta say about that. I feel personally attacked right now, Jared.
I've actively seen one of my friends shit in the middle of a lake.
Oh God! Oh jeez!
I mean, you couldn't see anything. He literally just had his life jacket on. He was just floating there and holding his swim trunks. But anyway,
jeez. Oh man. I mean, yeah. I'm sure it's not super super clean, but whatever. We're not here for a long time, Jared. We're here for a good time.
YOLO.
Exactly. Well, let's talk about some other Michigan things. We've mentioned this. I think this is a very typical Michigan thing, and we've mentioned this on the pod before, but an irrational hatred for Ohio. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think the feeling's mutual.
Oh, I would agree.
I think they hate us right back. Like,
for
irrationally hate us back. I don't think they're over there like, I don't get it. They're fine. Michigan's cool. We don't know why they hate us.
Right.
Well,
I think some of it has to do with sports, don't you think?
I think a lot of it started with sports. And then it just trickled out into people just finding, reasons to shit on each other. But it definitely, for sure, started with sports because there's a huge Big Ten rivalry there. But there's there's kind of like it's like a love triangle of rivalry between the two Michigan schools, Michigan and Michigan State and Ohio. Like, because there seems like if Ohio's out of the picture and it's Michigan versus Michigan State, you'll find a lot of that same irrational hatred.
Oh yeah, I don't think that's irrational.
I think you'll find people shitting on Ann Arbor for like things about Ann Arbor, or shitting on like the people of Ann Arbor, or shitting on the people of Lansing, or like or the city of East Lansing, not Lansing, East Lansing. People will always East Lansing people will always correct if you say Lansing.
Hey, I didn't correct you.
I've been corrected plenty of times.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, I would agree. I mean, I think like you said, a lot of it came down to the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry in football, which is huge. Although, you know me as a Spartan, I got to take my jabs when I can. It hasn't been much of a rivalry in the last 10 years, in the last decade.
No, you're right. That's not even a jab. That's just stating the facts. I mean, yeah.
And what's funny, though, is because my parents live very close to Ann Arbor, where the University of Michigan is, I get a lot of really good insights from Wolverine fans or University of Michigan fans about how they're feeling about the state of both rivalries, U of M and MSU, Michigan State, and U of M and OSU. And what's really funny is if you ask people our age, so in their 20s, they will tell you they actually think the rivalry is bigger between U of M and MSU because U of M used to always kick Michigan State's ass. But ever since Mark D'Antonio came to East Lansing and became the football coach, I want to say he's like 8-12, or he's only lost I think 3 or 4 times against Michigan since he's been there, which is a pretty good record for any coach. I don't care if it's a rivalry or not to win that many games against any team. And so the younger Wolverines will tell you that they have a bigger hatred for Michigan State than they do for OSU. But the older ones, it's the exact opposite. It's the exact opposite.
That makes sense, though, because, I mean, like, and I think that's why I mentioned that the rivalry started as a sports thing. But now, because I think the hatred for Ohio is still there. Like, even though the rivalry is bigger internally, the hatred for Ohio still brews strong.
Oh, for sure.
And even though that rivalry is not as strong sports-wise, because unfortunately Ohio State's been dominating that rivalry. Like the hatred is still there regardless, and people that aren't even sports fans, but everyone obviously is, most people in Michigan are probably surrounded by either Michigan or Michigan State fans, or a mix of both. I'm surrounded by a mix of both.
Yes, you are,
and I'm not really either. I'm just not. I don't care enough. So it's fun to pick on both people. All I need is my one Michigan shirt and my one Michigan State shirt, and I'm good to go.
That's right.
Could fit it anywhere.
Exactly. Yeah, it's weird though. Like you will definitely hear people in Michigan talk shit about Ohio for sure.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. What are some other right? Same here. What are some other typical Michigan things for you, Jared?
Typical Michigan things. Coney Island.
Oh yeah, you got to explain that to our listeners.
So, does any place else do Coney Island like Michigan does? Because this is at least in my mind, a uniquely Michigan thing. I mean, there are diners, obviously.
Right.
But
you
Coney Island specifically.
You got to explain to our listeners what Coney dogs are, because we have a lot of listeners who aren't from Michigan, so they probably don't know.
So let me start with Coney Island. Coney Island, which is a area in New York, outside of New York City, is also a very popular...
Isn't Coney Island like an amusement park in New York?
Oh, is that what it is?
I thought so.
Let me
That could be
just
wrong.
Google it. Let's just Google it. I'll give you the official Wikipedia definition
Perfect.
of the Coney Island restaurants and where that name comes from. It might have something to do with the Greek, because there's a heavy Greek influence on the Coney Islands. So anyway, Coney Island is a... All right, let me just explain it how Wikipedia does. I'm going to mess it up. Coney Island is a type of restaurant that is popular in the northern United States, specifically Michigan, as I mentioned. And the staple of Coney Island is the Coney dog. So I think the best way to explain it is Coney Island is not a restaurant. Coney Island is almost a genre of restaurant.
It's a culture. It's an atmosphere.
It's a way of life. No, it's it's not a rest. It's a style of diner. It's not because it's not even just diner, but Coney Island is a very specific style of diner. And so Coney Islands have a lot of them have very similar staples on the menu. But the main staple that everyone will have is the Coney dog, which is a hot dog that has a very sort of Michigan style of chili on top of it with onions and cheese. And that's the Coney dog. And that's where Coney Island, I think, really gets to start from the main two, which are what? Lafayette and...
I'm not sure what I'm not sure what the other one is.
I'm looking at it right now. Lafayette and American Coney Island. They're right next to each other. And it's almost kind of that same rivalry that you hear about in Philadelphia with like Pat's and Geno's, the Philly cheesesteaks. Uh-huh. They're right next to each other, and there's kind of that like rivalry where it's like Lafayette's better than American, or American's better than Lafayette. But at the end of the day, much like Pat's and Geno's, they're making the same goddamn thing.
Right, right, more or less, yeah.
And they might taste slightly different, but they're it's hard for me to argue that one's like bad and the other is better,
Right.
Anyway, so that's so those are the two originals, but in those two places specifically only sell Coney dogs and like French fries, I believe. Mm-hmm. But the Coney Island chain is so much bigger than that. The Coney Island is a diner, and so they all have kind of very similar diner items, breakfasts, soups and chicken nuggets and burgers are all very similar. Then a lot of them will have, some unique things to their different restaurants. So there are some popular Coney Island chains. My personal favorite, I spent some time living in Birmingham, Michigan, and in Royal Oak. And ones that both of those had were Leo's. And I also had a friend in high school. I had a friend in high school, and he knew one of the sons of the owners of Leo's. So once or twice we got a little hookup when we went to the Birmingham one.
Nice.
But anyway, that's a popular one. There's also National, I believe. Can you think of any other Coney Islands?
I mean, there's a bunch of like random ones. Like I think there's like a Mark's Coney Island.
Oh, it looks like Leo's and National are the two biggest ones.
Yeah, and
actually.
Leo's was my favorite, for sure.
Yeah, that was my go-to.
Mine as well.
But it was more. But I don't have anything against National. This was all just out of convenience.
Right. Have you ever been to a Coney place where they have two different types of chili, the Flint style or the Detroit style?
No. What are the differences? Do you know the difference?
So I'm trying to think of it.
Flint is about an hour north of Detroit.
I think
a little more than an hour north. 2 hours maybe.
And the meaning for these two different types of chili, it's a little dark, it's a little gross, but I believe Detroit, it has more meat in it because more dead bodies, and Flint, and Flint is like a runnier type of chili with less meat. Went dark real quick.
Representing the water or something?
I have no idea.
Brown water.
This was they probably started using this name before they had the water.
Before they realized how terrible their water was.
Right, but yeah, Coney dogs are a huge thing. And for our listeners out there that don't know what those are, it's a hot dog with chili, usually also onions and mustard, and it is delicious.
And so another popular thing, I wanted to mention this because a lot of them. It is a typically Greek-owned restaurant, mm-hmm. So you'll find a lot of Greek, the Leo's and the National, I think, are specifically Greek-owned, but like even some of the smaller ones that we haven't mentioned are too. And so they have a lot of them have baklava. That's mm-hmm. a very common thing you'll find at a Coney Island. A lot of them have the flaming cheese. Are you familiar with that, I assume?
Oh yeah, of course.
So what they'll do is it's hot cheese. It's just cheese for when they bring it out, and then there's like some layer on top of it that can light it on fire. So they'll light it on fire, and a big flame will go off, and the waiter or waitress will go opa, and then and then everyone dips like bread into this hot melted cheese, which I don't think I've ever had actually. But
it's good. It's good.
I know what it would like. It's not that I wouldn't eat it, but I'm not a huge cheese person like that.
Okay, that's fair.
And so it's just never really appealed to me. But it's not like I wouldn't try it. And it's very entertaining. Every now and again, you might get lucky and see someone accidentally set off a flaming cheese over the fire extinguisher, and and the fire alarm will go off and the sprinklers will go off. I've only seen that on Twitter, but
right,
it's happened before. So that is something that I would say is, to answer your question that you asked me 45 minutes ago, that is a classic Michigan thing for me that I miss to this day. And another thing that's great about it is, one, it's open 24 hours, but it is the greatest. We go back to, I believe, episode 5, where we talked about drunchies. When I lived in Royal Oak, this was post-college. I lived in Birmingham, so there was no drunchies. No one was inviting me to parties in high school.
Right.
But at college, I was old enough to buy my own alcohol.
Right.
I mean,
right.
This is after college. After college, I was old enough to buy my own alcohol. Anyway, so that was a popular morning after spot for me and my roommate Don to go to.
The best morning after spot, that's for sure.
And we would often, and it's cheap. It's so you can go in there with $10 and be thoroughly satiated.
Oh, for sure. That's a good word right there too. I
love that word.
You are no doubt thoroughly satiated after spending some time at Coney Island. That's for sure.
Yes. All right. So I gave you something. Let's just go back and forth. Things that are pure Michigan.
So I want to stick with foods here. Better made potato chips.
Yes.
Pure Michigan, delicious. Love the barbecue ones that are kind of hot. Those are really good.
Yeah. And I think a popular goal, I think if you're going to bring up those, you might as well bring up Faygo while you're at it.
Ooh,
Although my favorite Michigan beverage of all time, forget booze, because Michigan also has a great beer, Verner's ginger ale.
Oh, Verner's
There is no
so
ginger ale that
great.
I've ever found that has that level. I can tell you why it's the best one. No ginger ale I've ever found is that bubble, that like it's more carbonated than every ginger ale I've ever had. And it is way more bubbly, and the bubbles are intenser, and I like that. And it tastes better too, but those bubbles specifically get me. Verner's in a can, unbeatable.
Oh, for sure. Now I have a question for you, because
we'd probably put whiskey in there too, but
that'd be
you
delicious.
drink it without the whiskey if you're underage,
right?
Or sober or something.
Well, the question I have for you though, see, a lot of my relatives, like grandparents, great aunt, great uncle, they lived in Michigan, so they were Michiganders. Your family is more from the South, correct?
Yes.
So my uncle, he would often tell me if I had a stomach ache, to take Verner's.
Well, yes. I think that's I don't know if it's universal. I wouldn't hear Verner specifically, but the ginger ale thing for sure. But I guess the only difference is they wouldn't specify Verner's unless it was like my parents while we were at home. But like my grandparents wouldn't say drink some Verner's, but they would say get some ginger ale. But then they'd bring out some whack shit like some Schweppes or Canada Dry.
No, get that out of here. We need Verner's.
I found one grocery store, and I haven't checked in a while, but a couple years ago, the grocery store that was right around the corner from my parents' house in Louisiana had Verner's. And I walked in there and saw that, and I was like,
oh, nice.
It was great. Yes. So better made potato chips are for sure. Those are hard to find, though. I mean, Verner's is too. But better made I can't find that here for sure. I can't find that here.
You'll just have to come visit me in Michigan. Then we'll have a better made party.
Okay. I've never wanted to visit you less than after that. Can I just real quick run through some famous Michiganders for you?
Oh, for sure.
Some did you knows actually, because some of these are shocking to me.
Can we make this a quiz? Can you give me tossing a couple fake ones? I have to guess whether or not they're Michiganders.
Okay. Well, I'll give you an obvious one. We'll start easy. Okay. Henry Ford.
Obviously Michigander, President of the United States.
Ford.
Different Ford. Was he Henry Ford? He was also Henry Ford, wasn't he? Or Gerald Ford. Gerald Ford.
This is the greatest podcast ever, people.
Gerald Ford, yes. Henry Ford was a Michigander, though, wasn't
Slipping
he?
on gator piss. Gerald Ford? I don't know.
No, Gerald Ford was. I think he was. I mean, he was.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He's from Grand Rapids, because that's the name of the airport in Grand Rapids, isn't it?
I've never been to that airport before. I'm the wrong person.
Oh no, Gerald Ford was born. And why are you bringing me into your fake news? I was talking about Henry Ford, and now you're bringing me into looking like an idiot with you. Because Gerald Ford was, but I think Gerald Ford does have some connect. Let me go to his Wikipedia.
He was a representative. He was a representative in Michigan. I know for a fact he was.
Oh, he grew up in Michigan. He was born in Omaha, but he grew up in Michigan.
There you go.
And so he is a Grand Rapids. That is right.
Okay.
So he's not born there, but he's from there.
Right.
Oh, God.
And Henry Ford is also from Michigan, yeah?
So there's another fact. I didn't even have him on my list.
There you go.
Former President of the United States, Gerald Ford. Henry Ford, who is the founder, CEO, chairman, president of Ford Motor Company, famous. He revolutionized production, the idea of mass production and economies of scale through the assembly line, which is obviously something still used today.
Can I drop you with a fun fact?
Drop it, baby.
He actually took the
stole it from some Jewish person or a black person.
Stole it from Oldsmobile. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting, because GM later bought Oldsmobile.
Yep. Anyways, give me some more Michiganders or non-Michiganders.
Well, he might have stolen it from Oldsmobile, but I mean, as he's the one that's getting credit for it, so
right.
As far as history is concerned, that's all that matters.
Right.
Cher.
I'm gonna say not Michigander.
You are correct.
Okay.
But the reason she's from like California or something. The reason I brought up Cher is because the next one I was going to bring up is Madonna.
Well, I know she studied for a stint at the University of Michigan, so I'm just going to go out there and say it, and she's a Michigander.
She is. Okay. And her daughter, she was born in Bay City, Michigan.
Uh-huh.
And her daughter also went to U of M. Her daughter's somewhere around our age, roughly. Well, this is hard for me to sprinkle in fake ones, because I don't have, like, it's easier if I have a list of fake ones written down already, because now I'm just like making up people on the top of my head and looking at the list of actual people and trying to think of like, all right, I got one for you. Tom Selleck. Do you know who Tom Selleck is?
Oh yeah, the Mustache Man. Of course I know Tom Selleck.
Mustache Man. He's from Magnum P.I., I believe.
He's not from Michigan, I don't think. Is he? Or is he?
You are wrong. He was born in Detroit, Michigan.
Oh wow. Okay. All right.
Tom Selleck is a Michigander, people.
All right. Nice.
How about Chuck Norris?
Definitely not Michigander.
Where's he from?
I have no idea.
Okay, you're so sure. I don't know where he's from either, but you were so sure.
I mean, he was a part of Texas Rangers, so I'm gonna say Texas.
That's a television show. He was born in Oklahoma.
Okay,
but that doesn't mean that's where he grew up.
Right.
But he was born in Oklahoma. But yeah, also, you know, that was he lives in Texas now, so
there you go.
But of course he lives in Texas. But yeah, I really want to say that was just a TV show, Chad, but maybe not. I love Texas so much. Let's make a show about me being a ranger in Texas. Everyone's favorite action star, Steven Seagal. Everyone's favorite sexual assaulter, Steven Seagal.
Oh,
Everyone's favorite fatso, Steven Seagal.
I didn't realize he was a sexual assaulter. I'm going to say he...
Allegedly.
I don't know. I'm not allowed to answer maybe, am I?
I mean, you're the one that even brought up this game.
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. He's not from Michigan, no.
You were wrong. He is from Michigan.
Oh,
he was
wow.
apparently born in Lansing, right around your neck of the woods.
All right.
Ted Nugent.
Sadly from Michigan.
Ted Nugent is one of the worst representatives of the state ever. The only person second to Ted Nugent. Well, the person
Kid
second
Rock?
to. There we go.
Kid Rock? All right.
Fun fact about Kid Rock: I went to elementary school and high school with his son.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
His son is a year younger than us.
Did you ever meet
Bobby
him?
Ritchie. Yeah, of course. I went to school with him.
No. I mean Kid Rock.
Oh, yeah. I met him in elementary school, but I knew he was like a famous singer, but in elementary school, I don't think I was fully aware of how famous he was because I wasn't listening to that garbage.
Right.
So I knew he was like a famous person, like Bobby Ritchie's dad is a famous person, and he's a singer. That's what I knew.
Okay.
But I didn't realize who really Kid Rock was, and I knew he was Kid Rock, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Kids don't really know that much about famous people at that young of an age, I don't think.
And they shouldn't.
By the time I was in high school, he had, I don't know if you call him a nanny or what, but some woman that did not, I don't think it was his mom, and definitely was not Kid Rock, that would pick him up. Mm-hmm. And then the next year he had a car. So I never saw Kid Rock in high school, which is probably for the best because I was also way more aware of how much of a piece of shit his dad was in high school. Granted, I didn't have anything against the kid or anything like that. The kid seemed like a fine dude. So it's not like I'd be like, your dad's a piece of garbage.
Right.
But yeah, Kid Rock is a piece of garbage, but he's a Michigan icon. I unfortunately, much like Ted Nugent, who's even bigger. I'd argue probably a bigger piece of garbage, but
right.
They're both. That's like Spider-Man pointing at Spider-Man, trying to make that.
That's true. That is true.
Ranking. Sinbad.
Not from Michigan?
Sinbad is from Michigan.
Really? Interesting. Do you happen to know where he is actually from?
I can look it up. I'll tell you right now. He was born in Benton Harbor. Benton Harbor, where's that?
I have no idea.
Show me your hand. I've heard of it, but I obviously I don't know where it is. But then it sounds familiar. It looks like it's West Coast. It is West Coast. A little south of South Haven. It's close to Indiana. Well, when I struggle to think of the person's name, then it's obvious that I'm gonna be not looking up my list.
Right.
How about everyone's favorite Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire?
Not from Michigan?
You're correct. He's not from Michigan.
Okay. Give me a couple
At least
more.
I don't believe he is. Everyone, let me ask you this: Are you team? What are the names? What is it? Edward or team the other one?
Jacob.
Jacob.
I mean, I wasn't really a Twilight fan back in the day, but because I'm more into wolves and the guy who plays Jacob is from Michigan, I was a team Jacob guy.
Taylor Lautner is from Michigan.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yep.
This is one that surprised me. Have you seen, for example, Hangover?
I have.
Have you seen, for example, Community?
No.
I don't know why I'm saying for example. Ken Jeong from The Hangover.
What? He's from Michigan?
Yeah. And also, he's now, he's always been, but he's a stand-up comedian as well. And did you know before he started stand-up and acting, he was actually a doctor?
He's a doctor, yeah.
Yeah, I assume his license has lapsed somehow, but he was a legitimate doctor at some point.
Right. He's awesome.
And also, just another one, throw it in there, Andy Richter, the sidekick on Conan, is also from Michigan.
Really? Okay. Nice.
Oh, and Stevie Wonder, of course.
Yep.
One of Motown's legends.
Stevie Wonder.
Much like Diana Ross, another Motown legend.
Right. And also,
but those are obvious. I wasn't going to ask you those because those are obvious.
Those are too obvious. I'm trying to think of other notable Michiganders to mention.
Eminem.
Well, of course. He was
Marshall Mathers.
He was so obvious I didn't even think of it. But yeah, Eminem most definitely. Bob Seger.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
My dad went to high school with him.
I couldn't name you one Bob Seger song.
Night Moves, my man.
Oh, okay. What high school did your dad go to?
Pioneer High in Ann Arbor.
Oh, Ann Arbor. Okay.
Yep. And Bob Seger was a few years older than him, and then Iggy Pop was one of his classmates.
Iggy Pop's from Michigan?
From Ann Arbor, Michigan. Yes, sir.
What? That's awesome.
Yep, so Iggy Pop and Bob Seger went to the same high school.
Man, what some talent coming out of that high school. Right. And your dad. Let's not forget that.
That's right. Exactly.
I mean, your dad's an amazing artist as well.
He is. Not a musician, but an artist. But yeah.
Art is art. The world just needs to recognize.
Right. That's true. All right, Jared, I want to go through a couple more Michigan things, and then we can get to our song of the pod.
Okay.
Because I found these on MLive, which is a Michigan website. And these really resonated with me. So I'm going to just ask you, Jared, do you know someone who has a cabin or cottage up north in Michigan?
I know my cousin. Everyone, much like everyone lives on a lake, everyone either knows someone with a cottage or has a cottage.
Right.
I was never a cottage having family. But my cousin, Chris, who we're both very familiar with here at the Untranslatable Podcast.
That's right.
His family has, they have a cabin or cottage, whatever you call it, in Idlewild, Michigan, which is right outside of famous Ludington, Michigan.
Oh, yep.
Which is right on the Lake Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been there a couple times. And then I also have, I had a friend... Well, no, I think that's probably I haven't been to a lot of cabins, but I knew of a bunch. Like Traverse City's a famous, popular place to have cabins, or like Petoskey is a famous or like Charlevoix. These are all very famous cabin-having cities.
Right. And Traverse City is beautiful to visit. That's for sure.
Get some cherries or something.
Right. All right. Another, I think, very Michigan thing is I think people take a lot of pride in driving an American-made car. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, we're the Motor City, Detroit, and all the three major American car companies are stationed in Michigan, in or right outside of Detroit. And it's everyone. Much like everyone lives on a lake. If you want to buy a car, everyone can get everyone, and I'm not even exaggerating, can get in some sort of like a friend of employee discount on either a Ford, GM, or Chrysler. One of them, two of them, all three of them.
Exactly. We always got family discounts on Fords. Always.
My mom worked a long part of her career at Chrysler, so we spent a long time where she would get a free car, and then my dad would get a heavily discounted Chrysler. And then my first job was at Chrysler as well. And I drive a Volkswagen, and I was I was content with just driving my little Volkswagen. Because whenever I say it, I just say Volks, like I say like an American. But my parents insisted that I get a Chrysler, and I got a discount because I work there, so there's like the employee discount. And then that's how it continues. Anyone that knows me could have easily gotten, that 10% discount or whatever it is that you can get for.
That was a nice
Chrysler.
Car you had back in the day.
Yeah. It was.
What was it? A Chrysler 200?
It was, and it was not fully loaded, but it was pretty close to fully loaded, and it was great. I was at the, at first I was like, because I'm kind of stubborn and I like my Deutsche Auto, but I was actually, I worked in Grand Rapids and in Detroit, so it was great to put just that level of miles on a car that I didn't really have to concern myself with, and then I could just give back after a certain number of
Right.
And it would probably be a little bit more painful to me to just put thousands and thousands of highway back and forth miles like that on a car that I loved. So it was perfect for what I was doing.
Nice.
But there is definitely, though, the reason I say all of this is is because there is definitely like an image thing to like you're kind of looked down upon for having a foreign car.
Yep.
It's a legitimate thing.
Yep.
Don, I keep bringing him up for some reason, but he almost refuses to buy and I know plenty of people like this, but Don is in the process of looking for a new car, and we were just having this conversation, but he refuses almost to, although I think he might be considering a Toyota now, usually he refuses to buy anything that's not American.
I mean, if I end up back in Michigan after this and look for a car, I tell you what, I'm going to be looking for an American car.
Do you still not have your car? Did it go? I
mean,
away?
I still have my car.
Okay,
it's there. And it's also American. It's a Ford.
Yeah, and it's also one of the most reliable things to come out of America. Like, you could drive that car for another 100 years.
That's the plan. I'm driving it till the wheels fall off. All right. So now I want to give you, Jared, a couple. You're from Michigan when. So here we go.
Okay.
You're from Michigan when there are only 2 seasons in the year: winter and construction.
That's very true. That was actually that was one of the other Pure Michigan videos that I was telling you about.
You're from Michigan when your 4th of July plans always involve a lake.
That's very true. That's not even a joke. That's just pure fact.
Right? You grew up in a small town in Michigan when the first day of deer season, you go to the deer pole.
That's true. I mean, I'm not a hunter, but I was surrounded by them.
Right. You're from Michigan when you don't get confused by a Michigan left turn.
Yes. I think they're a godsend.
Can you explain what a Michigan left turn is?
So Michigan left turn, first of all, it's usually going to happen on any probably 4-lane plus streets. So where instead of crossing over 2 lanes that are going a different direction, you go past the place where you want to turn left, make a U-turn, and go wide, and then make a right onto that street where you were going to make a left. And actually, I think it's quicker because, one, we live in America. For those of you guys listening to us not in America, we are free here. We live in the land of the free.
That's right.
And when we see it's clear, we're allowed to turn right on red.
Mm-hmm.
So how it is here in, I guess we're free in Michigan, because I'm about to say in a place where they don't do that. And here everywhere they have that right on red thing. But in Pennsylvania, where I live, they have an additional arrow. So what it really just causes is more waiting, because you have to wait for the left turn arrow to show up.
Right.
Which involves another step. So I think the Michigan left is quicker, and it gives you the ability to, if it's timed right, a lot of the time you could even get through and do the whole right, like Michigan left, before you would wait for an arrow in another situation. Michigan left all day.
There we go. All right, and my last one. You're from Michigan when you can pronounce Mackinac, Pontiac, Cadillac, and Detroit correctly.
Pontiac. How would you pronounce that wrong?
I don't know.
Oh, people can't pronounce Pontiac?
Pontiac? I don't know. Maybe they say Pontiac or Pontiac.
Yak.
I don't know.
Yak nasty.
I don't know. But anyways, I think it's time that we talk about an epic song about Michigan for our Song of the Pod. What do you think, Jared?
Yeah. Speaking of famous people from Michigan, Anthony Kiedis, the lead singer of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, was born in Michigan. And so that's where this song's inspiration comes from. Granted, it's funny. Most people from, say, our age to about the age of 50, like the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Right. That's true.
And they're a mega band at this point. And it's so funny reading or trying to like critically listen to their lyrics because it kind of sounds like gibberish a lot of the time. It's like, what are you talking about?
Right. That's true.
I just for the fun of it, because I wanted to. I was listening critically because I wanted to like call out, like lyrics that had to do with Michigan. But as I was reading this, I was like, "Damn, Anthony, what the hell are you talking about?" Life is my friend, rick it up to take it and rub it in your sentiment, especially in Michigan.
I think you're sadly doing the song a disservice.
Well, I can be your friend. I feel like I should really be paying closer attention to my mixer because it's probably, the peak light's probably like full red. What's happening?
Right.
I did not expect to do that.
I am curious what his inspiration was.
The Holy Ghost took me over.
Right. But it's a great song. Red Hot Chili Peppers, especially in Michigan. I don't know. Some of it I feel like I could get the reference. Like when he says lions and tigers, right? Did you catch that one?
Yeah, okay. You're right.
And the
hook,
lions and tigers, because the Detroit Lions is Detroit Tigers.
Yeah, and then the next one says, painted in my tiger skin.
Right. Or White Clouds, I'm in a mitten full of fishermen.
I did notice that, so maybe I'm just now being hard on them. Now as I read it closer for live, it's starting to sound like freaking poetry.
Right.
A rainy Lithuania.
I don't know if is there a high population of Lithuanians in Michigan?
I'm not familiar, although Dearborn does have a high population of Middle Easterns.
That's true.
It's a hot spot. There's a very large population and a very high density of mosques. Fun fact. Right.
What are your thoughts on the song, though, Jared?
I thought you were about to say, "What are your thoughts on Middle Easterners?"
That's a different episode right there.
Well, I'm glad you asked. No. I mean, it's this album in general, which this comes off of the Stadium Arcadium album, which was a monster album because it was a double album, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But like this, I think if I remember, I believe this part of the album was my favorite of the two, and this song always like not stuck out to me, but like it's just a good song. It's a very classic, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and I like it. I don't know, I like it. It's not my favorite Red Hot Chili Peppers song, but if I were listening to Stadium Arcadium, I wouldn't like come up on this song and be like, I'm gonna skip it.
Right. I just like this song because the title itself is what drew me to it when the album came out. I was like, you hear a lot of music about California or
right. They have like 16 songs about California.
Exactly. And so it's nice. It's nice that Michigan gets some props.
What is your favorite Red Hot Chili Peppers album?
Album?
Yeah, because I'm not gonna say song. I want to give you a full album. I have two that I go back and forth between.
I mean, I would say probably. That's tough. I think Stadium Arcadium and also Blood Sugar Sex Magic.
Okay, I go back and forth between. Is Blood Sugar Sex Magic the By the Way album?
I think that's a different.
Or is By the Way its own album? I believe it is.
I think it is.
Yes. By the way, is that because By the Way has like Carbon on it. It has but I believe those are different albums. I think you're right. But I just call it the By the Way album, and I believe that's the name of the album.
Yeah, By the Way.
So I go between that one and Californication, speaking of all the California songs.
Right.
I do enjoy the Californication album very much.
They're all great.
Yeah.
I have to say, man, as a guitarist, I've always been a huge fan of John Frusciante, who played on their earlier stuff. And sadly, Stadium Arcadium is the last album he did with them and then left the band. And, their other guitarists, he's good. But it's just not the same gel of a band.
That's interesting.
It's just not. I mean, it's and the thing is, I feel bad for the other guitarists because there's a lot of older Chili Peppers fans like me who really like that kind of funk rock, Hendrixy guitar.
I was a big fan of the music, but it was a lot when I was younger, and I was not as aware of like the happenings within the band. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know that was the case, but Stadium Arcadium was the last Red Hot Chili Peppers album that I was really into. So after that, I believe, and this is all off the top of my head, after that, I believe was the Danny California album.
Nope, that was on Stadium Arcadium.
Was that a Stadium Arcadium? Whatever the next album was, I kind of partially listened to it, but I think Stadium Arcadium was the last album that whereas I fully listened to it,
Okay.
whereas it got a lot
gotcha.
of plays and it was often listened to. Then whatever the album came after that, I think I listened to it once or twice. And I was like, all right, it's fine. But I was kind of done after that point.
And the thing
But
is,
I didn't know that about the guitarist. Maybe
Right.
that has something to do with it. I just
wasn't
into the
and
style
the thing
anymore.
is too. I mean, as musicians and bands get older, they change and they evolve, and that's a natural part of music and life, right? And so, I mean, I think the Red Hot Chili Peppers now, it's just not. It's just not the same as the old stuff, which is fine. It's just, what I'm into is more of the stuff off of Stadium Arcadium or By the Way, Californication.
I'm sure any artist that's been around long enough and has been, as big as someone like Red Hot Chili Peppers, or even not, even just an artist, that's been doing their craft for a long time, will struggle with an identity crisis or an artistic sort of identity crisis at some point. And I say especially if you're famous, because you're trying to appeal to such a wide range of fans, a wide range of hardcore fans.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
That came in at completely different eras because they've been huge for so long that they're full on eras of them still go where they were huge around the by the way time, but they're also huge around the now. I guess
Exactly.
they're still filling up stadiums.
Exactly. So check out our Song of the Pod for this episode, especially in Michigan by the Red Hot Chili Peppers off of their
got me all
album,
nostalgic.
Stadium Arcadium. Good. That was my goal. I'm glad. It's a fantastic song. Well, Jared, as you and our listeners know, I've been trying to learn Czech while I've been living here. So it's time for our Czech word of the pod. Paráda. My Czech word today is domov.
Domov.
Which means
Is that excuse me?
which means home.
Home, okay.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I wonder if you could. That's almost a false friend to English, like domicile or something like that.
Oh, that's true. You're right. But yeah, I figured, even though I'm living in the Czech Republic, I think a part of Michigan will always still be my home, no matter where I live.
I feel that way too. It's and especially as I live in different places for longer and longer, and my family is in Louisiana. It gets weirder for me to claim Michigan as home when I'm explaining to people my life now.
Right.
But it's hard for me to disconnect because I still connect way more to that than I do Louisiana.
Right. All right, Jared, I have two jokes for you. One's an original, one's not. I'm going to give you the non-original first. What do you call someone who loves Michigan?
A Mishophile.
Smitten.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so that wasn't the original one. Here's the original one. And I tried to pull from my real life experience from Michigan. So here we go. How do you know when it's above 40 degrees in Michigan?
Oh, but I think I know, but it'll tell me.
When you see people outside wearing shorts and a t-shirt.
Or I guess even more appropriate would be, you betcha.
It's true, though, isn't it?
Well, I mean, yeah. Or there's even our good friend Kelly,
Who would wear shorts
never
and
not
dead
be
of
wearing
winter.
shorts and a t-shirt.
Right.
If it was super cold, which means below zero,
He'd have
he
a
might whip out a
windbreaker on.
windbreaker.
Yeah. Oh, man, crazy stuff.
But yeah, it's so funny. It's I mentioned my Louisiana family. It's always funny being in Louisiana, and it'll be 50 degrees out, and I'll be wearing a long sleeve tee, and all my family will have on jackets or hoodies and stuff.
Right.
And I'm like, this is nice out. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's just
This
a
is
difference.
great.
That's for sure.
Christmas and it's 50?
Oh yeah, that would be nice. All right. So I wanted to give a quote of the pod today from a famous Michigander, one that you did not mention.
Who dat?
And so the quote is, I think Michigan keeps you sane and on an even keel through the ups and downs. And this was said by Jeff Daniels, the famous actor from the film Dumb and Dumber. He actually lives in the town over from my parents. I remember I met his daughters at a high school hockey game years ago. And I've never met Jeff Daniels personally, but I've heard he's a super nice guy, and I figured this was a great quote to sum up our episode.
Yeah, he seems like a down-to-earth guy. Yeah, that's cool. Thank you. That's good. I like that. That was nice.
And I would agree. I think when I need some balance or need to be more on an even keel, Michigan's definitely a good place to be. That is for sure. Mm-hmm. Well, we hope you have enjoyed this episode about the mitten. And now you can try out some of your Michigan slang next time you're there. If someone says, I want to get a Coney dog, or let's get some Better Made chips or some Faygo. And we hope we could also give you a little bit of a perspective of life in Michigan through the eyes of two Michiganders, sadly now both removed from Michigan for a little while. But yeah, this has been a wonderful episode, and I thank you, Jared, for bringing me back into all these nostalgic memories. It's been a good ride. It's been a lot of fun. And if you enjoyed our episode, let us know on Twitter, Untranslatable1. You can also check out some of our pop-in photos. I might need to dig in the old photo books if I can on my phone and see if I can find any good pictures of Michigan that we can post on our Instagram for your viewing pleasure. Also, shoot us an email. Tell us about your hometown. We'd love to hear about it. Or send us some untranslatables at untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. We really appreciate it. We thank you all so much for your support. Thank you all so much, and we are looking forward to hearing from you next time. And as we say here on the Untranslatable Podcast, Děkujeme.